Hey, it's me, Bad B, I'm back. So I thought I would talk about kind of how Asian parents show love. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but my dad's Japanese and my mum's Thai, but I was born and raised entirely in Australia. And there's a lot of different cultural things that comes with being the child of immigrant parents and immigrant parents of two different cultures as well. When I originally found out about the cancer, I was living in Japan, and I think they just couldn't process it. So their reactions were like kind of funny, I guess, now. So I was diagnosed in January. I decided to move back in June, about 3 months after I started treatment, because my teaching contract had finished and I'd finished my Taxol. So, well, no, I hadn't. I'd almost finished Taxol, so I thought it would be a good time. And my parents moved to the country when they retired, so it was just really hard to see them because they lived 3 hours away. I ended up living with my mother-in-law, which is like so lovely that she takes me in and looks after me. But there is a lot of guilt there because she won't let me pay for anything and won't let me help around the house. So then I feel super anxious that she's going to resent me. And everyone's like, don't worry, she's happy to do things for you, so just let her. And it's just like that I can't. My dad always said no news is good news. He's that guy. And if he doesn't hear from me, he thinks, okay, so things must be going well, rather than if I contact him, then something must be wrong. The way we communicate is just messaging through line. And there was a period I was just sending him Instagram photos of cute dogs all the time, that he created a little folder in line for like dogs. He just kind of messages me randomly with news about Shohei Ohtani, the Angels baseball player who we love so much. I was about to have surgery, and my mom, she's another story, but when I came to visit for Christmas, at that point I hadn't seen my family in about 3 years because of COVID, and she was in Thailand. I told them I was going to come down for Christmas. She's like, okay, just let me know. I'm thinking of going to Thailand. And I was like, okay, well, I booked my flights. I'll be there end of December and a little bit of January. And then she's like, oh, I booked my flights to Thailand. I'll be there from October to February. And it's like, okay, so I won't see you then. When I came back in June, I kind of didn't tell them the plans because like there was just so much going on. I was trying to do treatment. I was trying to work. I was just trying to survive basically. And then, I got COVID and like, so many things. And moving is just stressful. Ugh. So I told her, I was like, oh, I'm coming back. And she's like, oh, I'm in Thailand. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I've been here since April. And at this point it was June. And then I said, okay, so when are you coming back? And she's like, next April. And I was like, oh my God. And she randomly sends me a video of this apartment, like with no context. And I'm like, why did you send me this? She's like, oh, I didn't tell you. I bought an apartment. And I was like, what? Manic pixie dream mom, basically, is my mother. So she messaged me and was like, how are things? And I was like, good. I just had my double mastectomy and reconstruction surgery. And she was like, oh, does dad know? And I was like, no. She's like, why not? And I was like, because he didn't ask. She's like, oh. And she's like, oh, I'm going to tell him. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then turns out he'd called the hospital, but I had just been discharged. And he's like, what hospital are you at? And then I told them. And then he called. And then he's like, can I come visit you? And I'm like, okay, but I'm getting discharged today, so I'll be at my mother-in-law's house. And he's like, oh, can I come visit? And I was like, yeah, sure. She's always saying that you can come visit, you can come stay, but you never do. And he's like, want me to bring anything? And I was like, yeah, can you bring chahan? So like Japanese style Chinese fried rice. And he's like, okay, do you want me to cook it there? And I was like, yeah, my mother-in-law like doesn't have a rice cooker, so she cooks rice on the stove, and it's long grain white rice, like basmati type rice. And also, like, she has a wok, but you plug it into the wall. And he was like, I'll think about it. So we decided to come over the Saturday that I got one of my drains out, and I was supposed to get the other drain out. So it was about a week and a day after surgery. And so my dad, he comes over. Okay, he comes over, and then he brought his own slippers to wear inside the house because my mother-in-law wears shoes in the house. So she's like, yeah, just wear your shoes. But, my dad doesn't like it. I don't either. I have special inside slippers that I wear. So summer ones and winter ones. So my summer ones are like these cute little summer Uggs, and then my winter ones are just regular Uggs. Anyway, so he brought his own slippers to wear inside the house. He brought all of his like own cooking utensils and like even pots. And then he's like, oh, he comes in, he's like, where can I wash my hands? And I was like, oh, over here. And then I like pointed to the hand towel, and he's like, don't worry, I brought my own towel. And I was like, okay. And then I had a look, and he'd like pre-chopped everything and put them into little containers prepared to make chahan and miso soup for me. And my dad's full veg. He also brought a couple of mangoes that he was like, yeah, let's eat the mango, because he knows I love mangoes. The way Asian parents show love, it's just not the same, I think, as what Western culture leads us to believe. But like, they'll never say it, and they don't like hug you or anything. Like, I'll always have to hug my parents, but I'll always have to hug my dad first, and he'll kind of, 1, 2, 3, and like there's kind of a 3-second rule for hugs. And he won't say I love you unless I say it first. But I think, it's just so obvious that his way of showing love is through food, cooking for me, bringing me mango. Cut up fruit is such an Asian thing too. But I think then I was like, okay, well, he does love me. Because like throughout this kind of whole thing, I was like, Dad never texts me, doesn't call, like he just doesn't care. But he does, and it's just in his own way. It was really sweet. It's just so good to eat Asian food again. When you're not feeling well, you just want foods that feel nostalgic that you had growing up. So it was so good. How Asian parents show love. Stay tuned for more third culture kid things, except cancer things.